conversation at 9 p.m. this evening. It's been 2 years since demonetization. 2 years have come and gone, and we had the finance minister today again justify demonetization and all of the reasons why it should have been done and all of the things we have achieved since then. Now, I don't want to say let's not forget the long lines, because I don't think any of us can forget the long lines, or the fact that the RBI kept changing its mind and its rules, or the fact that we couldn't access money. We couldn't pay the people who work with us. We couldn't buy things. People died in those lines. What was it for, and what have we achieved? Take a look.
8 नवंबर 2016 की रात्रि को 12 बजे से वर्तमान में जारी 500 रुपए और 1000 रुपए के करेंसी नोट लीगल टेंडर नहीं रहेंगे.
2 years since Indians stood in endless queues to withdraw their own hard-earned money. 2 years since India was told that the target of demonetization was to wipe off black money, curb counterfeit currency and terror funding. Here is the result. 99% of the demonetized money is back into the central reserves. Counterfeit currency continues to flow into the market. Terror attacks continue. Now the centre says target was to digitize the economy and act against tax evaders, which the government did.
Cash evades taxes, the result of which was that India's taxation base, both in direct taxes and indirect taxes, was very narrow. And hence there was a need to formalize the Indian economy.
Today, on the second anniversary of demonetization, political war of words rages on.
Practically, every single currency note was officially exchanged at bank counters. It was the most ingeniously designed official money laundering scheme.
You dried up the lake and all the small fish died, and the crocodile can live on land as well. And that's exactly what's happening. Their economic performance has been a disaster.
Mirror Now asks, 2 years on, was demonetization a success? Let's debate.
Well, the political war of words has played out all of today, as it has over the last 2 years when it came to demonetization. We remember former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh called it organized loot and legalized plunder, but he's also put out a note today. To quote from what he has said, Notbandi impacted every single person, regardless of age, gender, religion, occupation and creed. He also says small and medium businesses that are the cornerstone of India's economy are yet to recover from demonetization as a shock. This has a direct impact on employment as the economy continues to struggle to create new jobs for our youth. Dr. Manmohan Singh goes on to say the financial markets are volatile as the liquidity crisis wrought by demonetization is taking its eventual toll on infrastructure, lenders and non-bank financial services. We are yet to understand and experience the full impact of the demonetization exercise. With depreciating currency and rising global oil prices, macroeconomic headwinds are also starting to blow now. In response, the Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, has said this: demonetization is a key step to a chain of important decisions taken by the government to formalize the economy. He said the government first targeted black money outside of India. Asset holders were asked to bring this money back and pay a penal tax. Those who failed are being prosecuted under the Black Money Act. Who is being prosecuted, Mr. Jaitley, and how many prosecutions have we received or seen so far? He goes on to say financial inclusion was another important step to ensure that weaker sections became part of the formal economy. He says it's part of the entire plan, along with Jandan accounts, the Aadhaar law, GST and indirect taxes. But could that have been done without demonetization? He said confiscation of currency was not the objective of demonetization. The system required to be shaken in order to move India from cash to digital transactions, among the comments made by the Finance Minister today. Joining me on the show, Raman Malik for the BJP, Sulaiman Khan for the Congress, Ashutosh, a political analyst, Thomas Franco, presently the advisor to the All India Public Sector Central Government Officers Confederation and former General Secretary of the All India Bank Officers Confederation. Aman Agarwal is the director for the Indian Institute of Finance. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Opening statements from everybody. Was demonetization, in retrospect now 2 years later, any sort of success? Mr. Thomas Franco, go ahead. Do you believe or do you agree with the Finance Minister's arguments made today? Mr. Franco, can you hear me? Well, apparently not. I'll take that question to Ashutosh. Ashutosh ji, if you can hear me. Do you agree with the Finance Minister?
Yeah, I can hear you. Scrambled. No, I do not agree with the Finance Minister because the Finance Minister has spoken after 2 years. If you remember, two years back on this date, when Mr. Narendra Modi had made the announcement, he said that there were 3 targets. One target was that the terrorism will be over, the counterfeit, the fake currency will be over, and then he said the Naxalism and the drug will be over. And if at all the demonetization has to be evaluated, assessed only on these 3 parameters. Now the Finance Minister is saying that it has the larger aim was the formalization of economy. At that point of time, I heard his speech very clearly. He did not say that. Even after a week, when he realized that demonetization might be dangerously unpopular, then the Prime Minister started talking about the cashless economy, then he started talking about the New India and all kinds of things. And he was worried. He was worried because he said that give me 50 days, or if in 50 days the things will not improve, then you can hang me anywhere. Now the point is, terrorism is again is there as it was. The fake currency is still there. And Naxalism problem is still there, the drug mafia is still there. So what demonetization got? Demonetization got the death of more than 100 people. Demonetization got the drop in 35% of employment. As the data showed by All India Manufacturing Organization has said, that the demonetization has brought the slow growth. As Economic Survey of India in 2017-18 itself has admitted the fact. And what demonetization has got? The 99.3% the currency came back into the system. So yes, where was the black money? Where the black money has gone? So these are the questions.
Right. If we actually just look at the 3 targets that were listed out by the Prime Minister on this very day 2 years ago, black money, we understand from the RBI, most of it just came back into the system. Fake currency, we understand from the numbers that have released now that the new currency is being counterfeited as well. And we know from the terror funding and the number of people who are dying in Kashmir that it has not changed. Mr. Raman Malik, other than the fact that this year during Diwali, people who played cards had very colorful notes to bet on, has there been any other impact of demonetization on the economy?
Thank you for the sarcastic start that you made to it, but let me start answering you with certain fact. Number one, Mr. Ashutosh should patiently listen to it. He would not be facing one Mr. The way he is. So let me just start off with it. When he talks about Naxalism, there was in 2016, there were 1,048 attacks. In 2017, it came down to 900. Today, in 2018, we are sitting at some 450 or 470 odd attacks. So that is one issue. The second is about the stone pelting. The stone pelting incidents in 2016 were something like 2,800. In 2017, they have come down to something like 1,250 odd. So there is the answer for your terrorism and Naxalism. Even though you have a battery of people who are urban Naxals sitting in Delhi, Lutyens media and other JNUs and other places, I would still say that there is a remarkable improvement in how things were and how things are. That is one part of it. The second part of it is that once you are saying that once you are starting to say that what is that the demonetization has done, what demonetization has done has attacked the note say vote brigade of India. In the democratic elections, any country, you should not have note say vote, you should have dil say vote. So that is the difference. That has brought, Malik, it has broken the backbone
that was not one of the declared aims of demonetization.
Third, no, please let me finish, ma'am. Please let me finish what
All right.
it has done.
Okay, go ahead.
It has done another important issue.
Okay.
What it has done is, it has brought in the fact that you were talking about black money. The concept of black money is not that the notes are painted black. The concept of black money is wealth which is notional and virtual, which is there in system or out of system, which is not paid tax for. And once I say this, which is not paid tax for, let me tell you something. The number of people who are paying or who are disclosing income of over 1 crore in 2014-15 were 88,600. In 2017, this raised to 1,40,000 plus. So, which shows that yes, there was an increase in number of people who were earning more than 1 crore rupees that could have been declared and were not declaring. That is where the black money. I can keep on giving you more figures.
Please
so once you are starting to debate, my humble submission here is talk with facts. Do not throw trash on the debate.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. You did say, first of all, you made a comment about urban Naxals in Lutyens, Delhi. I don't know if that was one of the aims of demonetization. So we'll put a pin in that and set that aside. But they have been the number of attacks from either Naxals or terrorists in Kashmir or in places like Chhattisgarh has not come down. In the last couple of weeks, we've had attacks in Chhattisgarh, 2 attacks in Chhattisgarh, where we've lost good men from our forces. So I'm not going to condone the fact that we can make jokes about it. I don't think we should.
And
now
there
you
were
said,
people
now let
who
me
come
finish.
in your debate,
Now let me
sit
finish.
down,
Now let
support
me finish. I
Naxalism,
paid you that
did not
courtesy.
cry even
Now
a
let me
bit
finish, Mr.
on
Malik.
these
Mr.
brave
Malik.
soldiers going off.
Mr. Malik, you said note say vote should not be allowed, dil say vote should be allowed. But that was not one of the aims of demonetization. And I would like to see whether or not when the RBI board cleared the idea and
But
the
it
process
broke
of
the backbone of
Mr.
such
Malik, do not
people.
interrupt me. Cleared
Why
the
was
process
money
of
thrown into
demonetization
various places?
in the proposal that was placed before the RBI board. Was note say vote and dil say vote part of the argument that was made to the RBI to get this process cleared? You said black money is money that has not been, tax has not been paid for. You're absolutely right on that definition. You also said that the number of people paying tax has increased. You're absolutely right there as well. But let's also note that if we pull out the numbers from the year 2000 onwards, the number of people paying tax has increased every year, year on year. There has not been an exponential jump in that increase after demonetization. Now, let me bring in other members of the panel. Suleiman Khan from the Congress, do you want to respond?
I will give you some.
1 second. Suleiman Khan, please go ahead.
I think it's very clear now after 2 years that this decision of demonetization was arbitrary and reckless. It has, I think, given a big blow to the economy. And we have seen how Dr. Manmohan Singh has in his parliament speech, he has said that it's an organized loot and a legalized plunder. And the GDP growth numbers or the growth rate will fall down at least by 2 percentage points, and that is what has happened. We have seen from 8.1% something, the GDP growth rate fell down to some 5.7%. Later on it recovered, but actually it has happened. And we have seen how jobs have been lost. We have seen how 150 people died just standing in the queues to change their notes, the old currency, the demonetized currency. So what we have achieved, all the objectives which were actually enunciated by the Prime Minister at 8 p.m. on 8th of November 2016, none of them have been met. And what data the BJP spokesperson was giving, I think the country has almost, refused now to believe on the data given by the government. All their data are almost now becoming fudged or they are manipulated. Even their own leader, Mr. Yashwant Singh and Arun Shourie have been, categorical about this, that the government is, manipulating data just to show a rosy picture. They just show these data. And if the terrorism has fallen so much, what Mr. Malik was telling us a moment ago, then why have you in June 2018, run away from the government from Jammu and Kashmir? You are having a coalition government. When after 1.5 years of demonetization, every terror attack, there has been, lesser number of terrorist attacks, or there have been a deadly blow on the terrorism due to demonetization. Why you ran away from the government? Because the condition and the situation in Jammu and Kashmir has, become bad to worst because of your misgovernance. So any of the objective which has been enunciated by the Prime Minister at that time was not met, and he has keep on. At that time also, he kept on changing the goalpost, first by saying these three objectives.
All right. I have to allow Raman Malik to respond to you.
India.
Just one moment.
Then he said
Suleiman Khan, I have to allow Raman Malik an opportunity to respond to you. Mr. Malik, please go ahead. Mr. Malik, go ahead.
Yes, okay.
See, first of all, let me tell you, the exponential growth that has been there from 3.8 in 2016 to over 6.6 crore people paying taxes, it is not a normal growth. It is above and beyond normal growth. We are touching almost from 2016 onwards to now.
No, please don't interject. Let him finish speaking. Do not interject.
One point from me and then you can reply.
No, Mr. Suleiman Khan, do not interject. Allow him to speak,
The second thing is,
there is an increase of tax base also.
Action against 17 lakh plus people who have been running accounts and whose accounts have been suspended. There are over 2 lakh shell companies which have been, under investigation. There were multiple accounts which were never being operated, which had started operating in cashman deposit. They are under investigation. There are many things done. The NCLT is doing its job. Furthermore, as my friend from Congress was saying that there's so much, attacks and all, he did not listen to me properly, and that is what the problem with Congress is, that they are into a self-manifested mode where they only want to listen what they want to say. So here I very categorically said the 2,800 odd attacks of stone pelters were reduced to 1,250 odd in 2017, if I'm not wrong. Now, all that I'm trying to tell you here is the effect of demonetization, and coupled it with the GST and the Benami Properties, Act, those acts made for that, it has actually broken the back of people who were doing and creating and managing a parallel economy. I want to understand something which is very interesting. Somehow, after all of this, suddenly there's a massive jump in ease of doing business. There's a massive jump in the place where
one second.
the Indian
Mr. Malik,
economy
Mr. Malik,
is.
Mr. Malik, one second. Gentlemen, you have to stop when I ask you to stop. No, cut both the mics.
What?
Cut the mics. You have to stop when I ask you to stop, so that you can hear rebuttals from other panelists. This is not a monologue. Mr. Malik, this is not a monologue. Now, let me be very clear. Is it not true, Mr. Malik, that what you're counting are the number of tax returns filed and not the number of people who have paid tax? Now, even someone who is a senior citizen who doesn't have an income currently, who's just filing a return to declare their non-taxable income, still has to file a return. So the number of tax returns filed is different from the number of people who actually filed taxes.
India is a young country, not getting old.
What? Okay.
India is a young country.
That's not the answer to my question. My question was, aren't you counting the number of tax returns filed and not the number of people who paid taxes? That's not the answer to my question. Also, if we talk about the non-corporate assessees, financial year 11-12, the total of 357, financial year 12-13, 367, 13-14, 304, 14-15, 360, 15-16, 398. Hasn't changed very drastically. One more guest, a couple of guests who have not made their opening statements. Aman Agarwal, Director of the Indian Institute of Finance.
And today we are sitting at 6.6 crores.
All right, go ahead. Aman Agarwal, go ahead.
Yes, I think, you asked the question about whether it's been a good or a bad scenario. I think like all coins have two sides, there are both positives and negatives to it. But if I look at the main statement which was made by the Prime Minister at that time, there have been outfalls. If you look at the kind of terrorism which was existing in this country at that stage, and all over the country we had Mumbai, we had a lot of other attacks which were going on where there was no recourse to it. I think there has been a stop to that kind of mass attack which was taking place. Certainly certain infested areas which are extensively terrorized, their impact has not been to that great extent, but overall the country has become a little more safer place as it used to be as against before. Secondly, when it comes to the black money issue, the definition is already outlined. I don't want to repeat that, but please understand that any money which goes into the bank doesn't become white, and that is what the perception which is being portrayed by a large number of people around is. So it is neither money laundering being done by the banks or the government nor making money white. The question is the government taking the next step? Are they trying to identify? And we understand that there is a limited source of people in the income tax and others who are doing a dual job now. One is what they were doing already, plus trying to assess who are these people who are actually deposited this money into the system, which was not accounted for till now. Now that's where the black money is going to be caught, and some of these figures which have already been quoted, again not to be quoted, clearly shows that there is a proactive government which is trying to do. The fact that we have seen the way implementations of NPAs, the others have taken place, clearly shows the government's intention to bring about that positive move in the economy, and the way international economy is trying to boot. Please understand, if we talk of 9% growth in 2010-11 or so, please understand the inflation was very high also at that time. Secondly, when you're talking of 7.3% growth, we're talking about a $2.3 trillion economy, 7.3% growth, as against 7% or 6% growth at $1.5 trillion economy. This again has a buoyancy impact. So there have been positive outlays of the demonetization which took place, apart from the fact that what we are seeing in banks as a liquidity crunch today would have happened at that stage itself, because banks were already crunched off. Now we have already detailed that thing out.
Mr. Aman Agarwal, this is these sort of arguments where we say that if we hadn't crushed our normal regular people and made them stand outside banks in lines, our banks would have had a liquidity problem. It is not the responsibility of the ordinary citizen to put our money in the banks to save the banks from a liquidity problem. I'm sorry, that we're already doing because our tax money is going into funding these banks. So I refuse to accept that as a justification of why demonetization was needed to be done. And if that is the justification, then we were cheated, because it should have never been allowed to be done for that reason. Thomas Franco of the All India Bank Officers Confederation, what is your response to Aman Agarwal's arguments? Go ahead, please.
First of all, the statistics which they are quoting, it is not correct. The tax returns which have been filed, already data is available that 60% of the tax returns, they are less than 5 lakhs, which is not within the taxable bracket. So that has not made a big impact. Another point which is missed out so far is that the Prime Minister also talked about abolition of corruption. Today the corruption is increased. There are large-scale corruptions taking place at the higher level, lower level corruptions which were existing, they are continuing. Increased? For a short period there was some reduction, but now
how is he coming to this logic?
You go to the regional transport office, you go to a registrar office, sub-register office, everywhere the corruption is increasing. You ask any common man, they will say.
Who are those
large
people?
Corruptions, the Rafale deal or the, even now,
who are those
please
people?
Listen to me.
No, Mr. Raman Malik, after he speaks, I'll give you an opportunity to rebut. One second, Mr. Malik, I'm going to ask you again politely. Allow him to finish. 1 second. Mr. Raman Malik, I will ask you politely again to allow him to finish speaking, because I cannot understand Mr. Franco if you interrupt him. I will give you an opportunity to rebut him when he is done speaking. That's how we do it on this channel. Mr. Franco, please go ahead.
Yes. See, in all the elections which have taken place after 2016, we are seeing huge amount of money being transacted. All fresh currency. And last year we released a data of 118 cases of newspaper reports where huge currency in new currency note was seized during the time of demonetization. Even today there is no report available. What happened to that? They arrested people. Just I will quote you one example. when Ram Mohan Rao, who was Chief Secretary of Tamil Nadu, was arrested, the newspapers quoted that 30 lakh fresh currency was seized from his office. But today, he is back in service. No action has been taken. There are so many other cases like that. So, the corruption has not reduced, black money has not been traced, fake money, fake currencies are available, and terrorism, nowhere it has reduced. The statistics which they are talking, that is not the true statistics. We are seeing every day news reports and TV reports on terrorist activities taking place all over the country. Last week there was a killing of 5 innocents in Assam. Even northeast, the terrorism is increasing.
Okay, all right.
The net result of demonetization is 0. On 13th November, the Prime Minister of the country spoke in Goa and said to the people, give me just 50 days. If I am wrong, if
Mr. Franco. All right, Mr. Franco. I have to allow Raman Malik an opportunity to
then
rebut
you can punish me.
Yeah.
It is high time people take a stand, and it is time he has to be punished for what has been done to the people. More than 100 people have been killed.
Mr. Franco. Mr. Raman Malik, here's the question.
Hang on.
2 years in, we still don't have a white paper. Yes. We still don't have a white paper on demonetization. There's been no report submitted to Parliament. We know that under the guidance of Mr. Murli Manohar Joshi, a committee investigated demonetization, but their report was never submitted. Don't you think, if this debate is still raging 2 years in, the people of this country are owed a report as to what happened and why it happened? Mr. Malik, go on.
First of all, I would like you to state the name of the organization Mr. Franco is representing.
I already did. The All India Bank Officers Confederation.
Let the viewers listen to the name very clearly. Please.
What are you getting at? Why don't you just come out and say what you want to say?
All India Bank Officers Confederation.
Yes.
A lot of these people were found to be doing hanky-panky business when the demonetization was happening. At the same time, a lot of them are government servants, and what Mr. Franco is
argue on the data,
saying,
Mr. Malik,
all
not on the credibility of the panelists.
Are corrupt.
Mr. Malik.
He is saying this on record, and he is pointing towards this, that they are all corrupt. That is what he wants to say. So let me answer it to him. So if that is what he thinks, first of all, he should put all the corrupt people out of his association. If he is heading that.
Correct.
Second,
how many actions you have taken? If we have done wrong,
then he must also understand before he condemns what was he doing till 2016. Why was he accepting everything which was happening wrong? Why was he okay with corruption? Why was he okay with the loot of India? Today, just to accuse Modi ji, these people can bark anything.
No. Hang on. Raman Malik, first of all, calm down. Mr. Raman Malik, first of all, calm down. There is nobody else getting upset on this panel other than you. Argue out the data. Do not get personal and question the credibility of the panelists. Argue out the data.
I need answers for my data which I've given you. Please tell your panelists to answer those data. How can it happen that, fine, even if those returns are of incomes below 5 lakh, why were they not reported till now? It is not new that the income tax returns are being filed which are below 5 lakhs. Now I want to understand why it happens is that 3.8 to 6.6. How did that happen?
Okay,
because
all right.
of the fact that
Suleiman
people
Khan
were
wants
made
to answer. Suleiman Khan, go ahead.
That filing income tax is important.
Suleiman Khan, go
Declaring your wealth is important.
Yeah.
There's been an exponential growth.
There has been since 2011-12. There has. Now listen to me, Raman Malik.
Allow for the answers as well.
Why are you so upset? When everything is so nice, why are you so upset? Since 2011-12, the direct tax filing or the income tax returns filing have been increasing by 10 to 12%. And after 2000, please shut up now.
No. Hang on.
Every time you are not right.
Let me just
The
cut.
government is
One
not
second.
right every time. You are questioning the
Cut the
government.
mics of both the politicians, please. First of all, I'm going to say this one last time, and I hope you can both hear me very, very clearly. This is not a channel where we make personal remarks about each other. This is not a channel where we use language like that. We treat every member of this panel with respect. We have brought people onto this panel because there is a reason they have an expertise. Please learn to be more civil in these discussions. I hope to have younger children watching the news, and I cannot ask for parents to have young children watching the news if this is the decorum and this is the demeanor of our politicians. Suleiman Khan, I expected better from you than to say shut up yaar on national television. I am not coming back to either of you until you can promise me that you will keep this conversation civil. Thomas Franco, go ahead please. Thomas Franco.
Yes. I feel very badly hurt that this gentleman is talking indecent words like barking. He should stop that one. And about the data, please ask him to read the book Notebandi by Ramakumar, published by Oxford University Press, which has a detailed analysis of the data provided by the income tax authorities, where it is clearly stated that 60% of the returns are less than 5 lakhs. And the net increase in taxes has not been that much when we compare to the previous years, as you were also quoting. Complete data analysis available in the book Notebandi. Please ask him to read that. Then
I will
he can
just
understand.
like to update him.
All right, Mr. Ashutosh, go ahead, please.
I will just update him.
See, Faye, I think it is very
Apparently
unfortunate.
he's
It's very
forgotten
unfortunate that the government doesn't want to accept the fact that it did fail. See, if everything was so nice and everything was so hunky-dory, then why in first quarter of this...
1 second. My question was to Ashutosh. Ashutosh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Faye, I just want to ask one simple question, that the first quarter of 17-18, why the GDP had gone down to 5.4, which was the lowest in the last 4 years, and then it has jumped to 5.7. So obviously there was something wrong somewhere. And I want to remind to my BJP friend that in 23rd November 2016, the Attorney General of India, mind it, Attorney General of India has told Supreme Court that 4 to 5 lakh crore rupees would be rendered worthless. This is not my word. This is the word of Attorney General of India, the first law officer of the country. He is directly reports to the government, and he has told Supreme Court on 23rd November 2016 that 4 to 5 lakh crore rupees will be rendered worthless. But when the final report came out, none of these facts were there. 99.3% currency came back. So the question, there is something wrong somewhere. Either the government did not understand, or the Mr. Attorney General has no idea about the demonetization or economy or the currency. So the question today is that if everything was so right, then why the economy sank to 5.4% in the first quarter of 17-18? It's a logical question.
I'll answer you.
All right, fair enough. Raman Malik, we also have 3 people waiting on the phone line to ask questions. 1 second. Suleiman Khan, we understand, has left the conversation, and I'm fine with that. Vikas on the phone line from Noida. Mr. Malik, these are people who want to speak to you, so you can answer all of the questions together. Vikas on the phone line from Noida. Vikas, go ahead.
Good evening, Faye, and thanks for having me on the channel. I have a couple of questions for Mr. Malik. So my first question is, do you know how many people have actually lost their life during demonetization? And when you answer that, would there be any regret on your face? That's my first question. And my second question is, what have you done for the families of those people who have actually, lost their life during demonetization? And if you have not done anything, then please don't talk about demonetization and ask for votes again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Virinder Gulati on the phone line from Gurgaon. Virinder, go ahead.
Sir, let me answer you.
1 second. Let Virinder speak. Virinder, go ahead. I'm writing down the questions.
Thanks everybody. Good evening. My question to Mr. Raman Malik, the representative of the ruling government, is that if everything is right, then why are they so aggressively, or it's apparent that that it is wrong, which they had done a couple of years ago. But now everything if there is any question, they want to just keep that person shut by all their means.
Okay. Why are you fighting it so aggressively?
I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand his question.
Okay. Osama Aziz from Lucknow, go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
And good evening to all of the learned panel.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Respected ma'am and respected to the learned panel, my humble submission is only this, that who is the concerned authority vested with the legal right to declare any of the currency illegal tender? Number one. Number two is this, under Article 32 of the Constitution of India, as 150 deaths were found.
Yes.
No doubt, whosoever government it is.
Yes.
But one decision was taken, and because of that decision, 150 deaths were caused. So who is accountable for that under Article 32 of the Constitution of India?
Okay.
Number three is this, that number of petitions were filed regarding demonetization in the Honorable Apex Court, and the only question was asked, that was it the ultra-virus section? Until yet, no response.
All right, fair enough. Thank you for those questions. We'll take them one by one, and there was an overlap there. The first question, how many people died during demonetization? What has the government done for the families of those people? And under Article 34, who is responsible for those deaths? Mr. Malik.
First of all, let me answer Ashutosh ji. Ashutosh ji, for your information, I am going to state facts which are going to be facts as clear as Mr. Kashiram could say. And you remember Mr. Kashiram very well, I guess. Now, here is one. One that you must not forget is that once you are pulling out the tenders from economy, there's going to be that's typical of you, sir, don't worry. We have seen you enough. So that's typical of you, so let it be. So once you're pulling out and taking such a major step like demonetization, there's going to be a fluctuation in the normal flow of business. Hence, the first quarter saw some decline. Yes, and it is a natural process. Ashutosh ji, it is as simple as this, that you went into AAP and you got out of AAP and suddenly...
Mr. Aman Malik, please, I'm going to ask you one more time to keep your arguments non-personal.
So it is as simple as that.
All right, now answer the question, Mr. Aman Malik.
Example which he can understand.
No, I'm sure he can understand a lot of things. Ashutosh was also a senior journalist. Do not be condescending. Do not be personal. I've said this again, Mr. Malik.
See, now, I am giving him...
No. The viewers' questions.
I am giving him examples
of how many people died. What has the government done for the families of those people? And under Article 34, who's responsible for the deaths?
We are talking about, it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate. It is always unfortunate that any citizen of this country loses a beloved soul from their family, anybody for that matter. But the interesting part is that there were people, those who are now today shouting, they stand in queues of Starbucks. But when it is about something which is for national good, they say, oh, so and so.
What is the national good, Mr. Malik?
My point is
Mr. Malik, I'm sorry. This sort of argument might work on other television channels. What national good are you referring to here?
Everybody is regretful for that.
Regretful. How many people died?
Can
you tell me how many people died because of demonetization? Is there a number?
Debatable issue.
Is there a number? How many people died because of demonetization? Is there a number?
I don't think demonetization can kill somebody. There could be physical reason, there could be medical reason because of which a person can die, but not because of demonetization.
2 months down, 2 years in, you are denying the fact that people died during demonetization. I think that answers the question number 2 of what has the government done for the families of these people.
People die every day, but not because of demonetization. It is not because of demonetization that somebody died. It is because of a medical reason. It is never because of a thing. Will heart attack come because I say something to you? No. It is because there is enough, your arteries are clogged. That is why there would be a heart attack. So point is that it has been perceived, it has been shown by certain people who have vested interest that people died because of demonetization. Yes, there was a problem for people.
Well, if there's anybody right now at home who lost a loved one to demonetization, I apologize on behalf of what Aman Malik is saying, but pick up the phone and call us and my team will patch you straight through.
We had broken the backbone of people who were trying to rule because of money power.
Okay. That was
the people who were ruling this nation because of money power, their back was broken.
Thomas Franco, I know that we also lost members of, we lost employees of banks who died during demonetization. Do you want to respond to what Mr. Malik just said?
Yes, first of all, there is a list of 90 people whose death has been reported in the newspapers related to demonetization, which was released by an organization called UNHED. It is full detail is there. It is all related to demonetization, people standing in queue, some people who could not treat their children because they could not exchange the currency they could have. So because of that, deaths have taken place. Now coming to the bankers, there was death in Bhopal, there was death in Hyderabad, where the bank officials died inside the office during the demonetization. There was another death of 7 people at near Lucknow on November 9th night, when they had packed all these old currencies and they were returning back at the middle of the night. The vehicle met with an accident and all the people died on the spot. We have a list of 14 bankers who have died. And this, you cannot say that they had to sacrifice for others.
I am still not able to understand, sir.
These innocent people who died standing in the queue, why did they have to sacrifice their life for nothing?
It is a medical condition.
Ultimately, when there is the net result is
today
zero,
you say that
rather the RBI has lost.
Why could your bank not give
If you see the data, RBI compared to the previous year, their profit got reduced by 31,000 crores. The banks, all the banks have lost quite a lot of money due to the demonetization work.
All right, Mr. Franco.
Cash came in, deposits were there, we could not give loans.
And the same kind of data is available when VAT came into being.
Banking system
when VAT came into being, the same kind of data is available with bigger percentile.
Mr. Aman Agarwal of the Indian Institute of Finance.
Change of regime in VAT. Change of regime in VAT.
All right, Aman Malik, nobody died when VAT was brought in. Nobody died when GST was brought in. But people died when demonetization was brought in. We have to be mature enough to at least accept that. Mr. Agarwal, do you agree? Or do you think that it's okay for us to pretend like nothing happened?
No, I first of all like to apologize for the deaths of those who actually went through this serious problem during the course of the action of demonetization. But, it's not a question of agreeing or not agreeing. It's a question that it happened. It was an incident which happened. Are we a better nation today or we are not a better nation? That's a big question which we have to answer. There are certainly both sides of it when we look at an international perception, both in terms of statistics and information which comes in from international agencies where I worked myself at the World Bank. I know when it comes out there, it's very difficult. They cannot be corrupted and they cannot be influenced. And when that data comes out, it clearly shows that India is progressing at a much stronger pace with a controlled inflation and controlled fiscal deficit positions. Now, given that, that is important to be looked at as well. But when we look at the domestic markets as well, so there has been a hit because of demonetization, because of GST and others, and the whole sequence. But the fact that the government has been gaining its position, and I just saw a few minutes back at Times Now,
Aman Agarwal, let me rephrase that question. Do you believe that the government's gained position, that our position at the World Bank, our increased GDP, would have not happened if demonetization had not happened? Weren't we already on that track?
Certainly.
Didn't we have an excellent year in 2015, a good monsoon, a great harvest? Did we need demonetization? Was it necessary?
I'm very happy you asked that. No. No, I'm not correlating demonetization with that, firstly. But yes, certainly we were in a political paralysis situation. Our fixed foreign exchange reserves had almost gone to half their levels, almost half the levels. The inflation was very high. Please understand, if we talk of GDP at 9%, but the inflation is around 8%, again, it's being eaten away. So there is not much impact of that growth which you're talking about. We have been able to keep the macroeconomic parameters or the parameters of an economy quite stable and consistent. And that has reaped us certain benefits in the economy in the last few years. Right. But to say that it is only because of demonetization, it is not. There are a large number of other steps which the government has taken along with demonetization which has happened.
Okay.
And I think we need to give credit to that,
yes.
They have been strong steps and they would be criticized for that.
Yes. I have two people on the phone line. Ravi on the phone line from Bangalore. Ravi, you'll have to be quick though. Go ahead.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening.
This is Ravi from Bangalore.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions for Raman Malik.
Yes, okay. Go ahead. Very quickly, please.
Yeah. Before I start, let me apologize for all the departed souls during this event of demonetization. And I'm sorry to hear Raman Malik is very insensitive to those souls. Apart from this,
what's your question? Ravi, what's your question? What's your question?
My question is, can Raman Malik share the data points that the people have been impacted of the livelihood, the small and the mid-sector businesses due to the demonetization event, and also the sentiments of the people? I'm not sure if he's able to measure those and the confidence.
I don't think there's a data point. To be fair to him, I don't think there is a data point that measures sentiment of people. But jobs and SME sector is perhaps something we should look at. Hari Pai on the phone line from Goa. Go ahead.
Hello. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Mr. Pai. Go ahead. Yes.
We've been making a lot of noise about how people suffered in the lines, and we are blaming the government for it. I think, personally, my take is that demonetization was a good idea. The implementation was abysmal. Now, I know for a fact that bankers were taking in old notes, giving you new notes, less 30%. Now, if 1 crore went out through the back door from a bank, it means 5,000 people were deprived of a 2,000 rupee note. And there were several issues raised, oh, bankers did this and bankers did that. I haven't heard at least one banker being investigated or arrested.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just going to give the last word here to Ashutosh. Ashutosh, first of all, there were very clear reports on the deaths of people during demonetization. I don't think that's something we can wish away or pretend it didn't happen at that time for whatever reason. Data points in the SME sector, data points on jobs, on sentiment, and perhaps even corruption that took place inside of banks would have not happened if demonetization had not happened. Ashutosh, go ahead.
See, Faye, I think that the fair point is that demonetization was done. And I think it was not consulted, I think enough homework was not done. And that's one reason that its implementation was not only faulty, but it was bad too. As the government has been talking about the formalization of the economy, has been talking about the taxpayers, number is increased from 3 point something to 6. But what about the more than 100 crore people? What about the people who are living in the informal economy? What about the people who lost their jobs? What about all those? What about the small sectors? I still remember at that point of time I was in Goa and I had gone to the beaches, and the beaches which used to be so thriving, full of people, there were hardly 3-4 people in every restaurant. I used to talk to them and they used to say their business is down by 70% and 80%. Now, if government doesn't want to recognize that, if the BJP doesn't want to recognize it, is their problem. What I'm trying to tell you is that if everything was so good and so hunky-dory, why economy collapsed by 2 points?
Sure, but the argument would be that 2% collapse has come back.
Just one.
Yes.
And even Arvind Subramanian, the chief economic advisor of the government at that point of time, he has categorically written in the economic survey in 2017-18 that economy did slow down because of the demonetization. These are the facts, and I think one should not refuse this fact, and one should gallantly accept if any mistake has been made.
At the end of this conversation, thank you, Ashutosh, thank you, Mr. Malik, and our other panelists. At the end of this conversation, I just want to say in conclusion this. Demonetization was a decision made by the government that did affect every single one of us. It affected every single one of us for a long, extended period of time. When we initially thought it was only going to be for a day or two, it stretched on for months. And the fact that 2 years later that there is still a debate in this country on whether or not it was good for us or bad for us, did it work out, did it not work out, is shocking. The people of this country, if you say that we need to stand in line because we stand in line in Starbucks, we need to stand in line for the good of the country, then give us a report that tells us categorically, not anecdotally, but categorically, after a study, what this good was. We're owed that report. There was a report by a parliamentary committee that was going to be submitted to Parliament. It was not. We don't know why and how and under what circumstances this decision was made. We don't know who was the economic advisor or who were the economists who advised the Prime Minister at the time to take this decision. We don't know how the board of the RBI, and remember, all legal tender decisions need to be made solely and wholly by the RBI. We don't know how the RBI board was only given half an hour to deliberate and cleared the process in half an hour. What was the nature of the deliberation? We don't know the decisions that were made after that. The people of this country are owed a report by an independent panel that will tell us why the decision was made and if it actually delivered on its intentions. We can turn around later and retrospectively say, oh, but this good thing happened as a result of that. That doesn't justify the action. All I'm saying is this. If we want to put an end to the debate of whether or not demonetization is good for us, let's see a white paper report by an independent panel on whether or not it actually worked out. In jobs, in GDP, in banking, in NPAs, SME sector, and let's not forget or ignore the people who died. Thanks for watching.